Tennessee's, I believe, most talented player. I would have said Brew McCoy before the beginning of last season, and it's not because of McCoy's injury that he suffered. It's just because of what I saw out of James Pearce and talking to some people who know football better than I. I think he's Tennessee's best athlete, just in terms of size speed ratio, has the highest upside. I think he's that good. Fred White has described him as Leonard Little, and Fred doesn't throw those things out, the VFL safety who joins us from time to time. So what did James Pearce do, Caleb Calhoun? Wasn't huge, wasn't monstrous. It was just kind of dumb. Can you get everybody caught up to date? And then I'm going to ask today's tough question, brought to you by Andy Mason, AndyMasonRealEstate.com. Over 40 years of experience in his office. Andy Mason, AndyMasonRealEstate.com. Best service, best prices in the biz. Real estate in East Tennessee, Knoxville, AndyMasonRealEstate.com. So get us caught up to date. Caleb, what did our guy James Pearce do?
Our guy James Pearce was arrested after a traffic stop. Now, turned out he was driving on a suspended license, a license that was suspended from his time from North Carolina. And, okay, don't drive on a suspended license. That's stupid. The arrest came after he was asked to, I believe, step away from the vehicle, and then he walked towards the vehicle. Now, Dave, I'm going to be honest with you. The description of this is a little shady. I'm not trying to be some James Pearce homer. I'm not a Tennessee homer. I'm the one who said they have a discipline problem a month ago, right? With the traffic incidents that they've had.
Yes.
So this is not me being a James Pearce homer. What does that mean? He walked towards the vehicle when I told him not to. Therefore, I'm going to arrest him. I mean, like, that's very subjective, isn't it? I'm not saying that there's any lie on that, but it's like, did he blatantly say, F you, I'm going back to my vehicle? Or was it like he took a step towards the vehicle and got arrested? We don't know.
I don't know. Here's I want to do two things. Like at Thanksgiving dinner, I hate pistachio pudding, so I just sit it to the side and I'm not touching it. Okay, so I'm a white guy, all right, and I've been treated like a white guy by police. So I don't want to get into the whole could he have been treated differently, because I don't know. I mean, I don't know the insides of that. And the other thing that I'm going to set aside is exactly what was said, what happened, because that will become public, and you could be right. It could be a bleep you, that's my car. Be sure and hit the like and subscribe button. But my question is, today's tough question, to kind of break this down a little bit, how concerned are you about the James Pearce incident? So right now, and I just put the poll up, you've got very concerned, somewhat concerned, all good, just being a kid. So we don't know if James Pearce walked back to his car and said that you police are a bunch of pigs. I can't stand you guys. I don't like you guys. You're terrible people. You know, there's probably some bleeps in there as well. Or if he was compliant and they didn't like him. I don't know. But based off what we know, how do you feel about the James Pearce incident? Very concerned, somewhat concerned, all good, just being a kid. And I will tell you one of my most embarrassing moments in Tennessee when I was pulled over for an expired license, and it was like at 9:40 in the morning when everybody's going to class. I think the classes started at 10:15, Caleb. So everybody's walking past me, and I drove a junker back then, and I was embarrassed to death. So it happens. Kids do stupid stuff like that. You also have different addresses. Now, he also had a suspended license in another state, so that's a little weird. But I can see how they couldn't get in touch with him, and something small like this could pile up. Here's why I'm on very concerned before I ask you. Did you notice the year, the make, and the model of the car that Pearce was driving?
I actually didn't look at the details. What was it?
2021, I believe it was a Grand Cherokee. So I like fast cars, Caleb. You saw my car in Nashville at the SEC Media Days. I do like fast cars. That is my vice.
I like the Tracy Chapman song, Fast Car, but different story.
I like that song as well, which got remade recently by a country singer, and that should not happen. That's one of those songs that shouldn't be remade. But go ahead and hit like and subscribe. I like fast cars. I couldn't afford a fast car when I was 20, 21 years old. Not the kind that I like. These guys can afford it with NIL. So the answer is undoubtedly, for me, very, very concerned We've seen what happens at Georgia. Now you've got an issue at Tennessee, and this is the third traffic incident that has received news that has to do with a Vol. And I just think the ability, having NIL money, to get now this is not a sports car by any stretch of the imagination, but I still remember traveling to Gainesville to cover a Florida game. And I've only got 2 or 3 speeding tickets in my life. And I got one because I was driving a rental car, a Ford Edge, and it was really smooth. And it felt like you were going 40 miles an hour at 60 miles an hour. So point being, it's easier and more comfortable to go faster in cars that are nice that you can afford. So that to me is the issue. And it's not just at Tennessee, Caleb, it's across the board. These guys have money that they can spend on nicer cars. And I guarantee you that 2021 Grand Cherokee is more comfortable at 100 miles an hour than the Volkswagen Golf I had when I was in college. So I think it's a big concern everywhere. I'm not going to throw it as an indictment on James Pearce's character, but yeah, this is an issue. It's already been an issue at Georgia, and God forbid you have a staff member or a player die because somebody's driving too fast. So in and of itself, not an issue. In this NIL world, yeah, I'm concerned. If I'm Josh Heupel, this and gambling, honestly, in the NIL world are my 2 biggest concerns.
Well, and as you talk about, there's levels to this. By the way, when we talk about how did he behave, basically the standard, the 10 of concern is the Jeremy Banks behavior. We all saw the footage of that. Remember that, Dave? When Jeremy Banks was like, "Where I'm from, we shoot cops." And
yes.
Like,
and there was, they asked him to get out of the car and he didn't want to at first. So it's funny you bring that up. I thought there was a strange correlation between the two. I'm not comparing the two, but it is funny you bring that one up.
Was James Pearce Jeremy Banks, or was this a misunderstanding? We still don't know. We got to wait for details to come out. I agree it's very concerning because it's the third. And Dave, you and I have talked about this. You said it 1,000 times over, and I agree with you. When you lose discipline, you can't get it back because you send out a signal to everybody else. I mean, Tennessee had severe traffic incidents under Philip Fulmer in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Even when some of those guys went to the NFL.
Yeah, and even when some of them went to the NFL. And I mean, we talked about it last week, but the program was already about to fall apart. But the last one, the most notable one, was Britton Colquitt's DUI, crashing into a tree and running from the scene of a crime. And Fulmer was suspended for 4 games or something like that.
Yes.
And it was easy to make a statement there. It was your punter. You can easily kick your punter off the team. But he didn't kick him off the team. And it had already gone so far down at that point. So what I'm getting at is this one's a test for Josh Heupel. See, Josh Heupel took a really big stance his first year as head coach. He kicked Kaidon Salter off the team for 2 possession arrests, possession of weed. By the way, I don't care what the law say. Being reckless driving is worse than being high every time. I'd rather someone get high 20 times than someone reckless drive 1 time. One puts someone's life in danger, one doesn't. So
I might debate you on that, but anyway, go ahead because I'll be honest with you. I like a sports car. I do some things that they would say might be reckless driving if I got the wrong cop. Now I would get it brought down because I know lawyers. By the way, the program, of course, is represented by Banks and Jones, and so certainly check them out. Tennessee's trial attorney. They won't settle. T. Scott Jones will take care of you, Banks and Jones. But go ahead. I mean, I could be charged with reckless.
No one has ever died from marijuana, though. Marijuana has a body count of 0 in world history.
True.
And
but we don't even know that he had weed, so I don't know why we're.
No. I was bringing up the Kaidon Salter thing. Heupel dismissed Kaidon Salter, who, by the way, just led Liberty to an undefeated season. Heupel dismissed him for 2 possession charges when he was a freshman. Now, I was suspicious at the time that I felt Heupel was doing that because he wanted an excuse to, 1, say he's a disciplinarian, but 2, it was easy because he wanted to clear the field for Joe Milton. We all know he wanted to clear the field for Joe Milton to start.
Yes.
It's a lot harder with James Pearce, isn't it? When you have a rare talent that you don't want off the team. You need him going forward. And this is a test for him. I think if he's going to be consistent with what he did with Kaidon Salter, you got to suspend him for a few games no matter what. And
Well,
he's very
and I
inconsistent
also
if he doesn't.
and I also don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but we had Fred White on, and I didn't follow up. Maybe I should have, but he essentially said, he just needs to get his stuff together and he'll be fine. I don't know if that meant on the field, if that meant how to handle pass blocking, if that meant, maybe he's not quite as mature off the field as he needs to be. But in and of itself, I got no problem with this. When you look though at the NIL and the potential to have sports cars, the potential to have cars that feel more comfortable at 100 miles an hour than not. Man, I don't know about you, but I had a buddy who had a Bronco. And man, you hit 100 miles on that, 100 miles an hour, and you felt like the whole thing was shaking apart. I guarantee you James Pearce's car at 100 miles an hour feels nice and comfy, like you're in a recliner in front of your television.
Dave was the OJ driver. We figured it out.
The OJ driver. Yes, I was. You know who I am, Dad. Blame it. What's his name? Help me on the message board. What is it? JT or something? What was his name that was driving the car for?
I
OJ?
don't even remember the name, but
randomly call 911. And who is this? You know who I am? Bleepity bleep.
Was that your friend though? Was that the Bronco driver that was your friend?
He was the driver, so I guess I was OJ, but we didn't kill anybody.
Okay.
I was just riding along.
So, in all seriousness, and I hate to get philosophical on this, but I have to bring it up. Okay, Dave, I'm not, but you are. You're a parent. Mm-hmm. Didn't you, as your kid was growing up, for minor, not serious infractions, sometimes set a standard like this won't be tolerated because you knew if you let it get out of hand now that it would get worse later?
Oh yeah. I'm having to do that with a puppy as we speak.
Don't you have to do that with the program? Don't you have to say, if you let it get a little bit out of hand, you've told me, I mean, to me, ground zero for Fulmer letting things get out of hand was James Binks at Tennessee, where he let him get away with all but murder because he was such a rare athlete. Everybody saw that. And Fulmer, and that's why you had all the arrests that happened in that 05 all season, right? Because everybody saw, well, if James Binks can get away with it, I can do it. And by the time you create that culture, there is no coming back from that. I mean, you got to nip it when you nip it. And that doesn't mean kick players off the team, but that does mean, you don't have to go the Spurrier route because Spurrier was pretty heavy of a disciplinarian. He didn't care. He wouldn't even get to the bottom of it. He said, if you were accused of hitting a woman, you're off the team, period, end of story. Like, wouldn't even try to figure it out. I'm not saying go that route, but I am saying go the route of you're suspended for a little while, even for the most minor infractions, to let people know this won't be allowed because Fulmer lost complete control of the program because of a few people he let slide.
So would you suspend James Pearce for this?
Yeah, just a suspended license alone, driving on a suspended license. That's something he did that was wrong that he shouldn't have done. He is at fault for that.
Okay, I probably wouldn't. But I get your point. I probably, unless he said bleepity bleep to the cops and all this stuff's recorded now, I probably wouldn't, but I certainly understand.
I don't believe in dismissing. I don't believe in dismissing players from a team unless they just show repetitive behavior. Unless you're Aaron Hernandez out here killing people and you're Urban Meyer and you're like, I don't care. Kill whoever you want as long as you score me a touchdown. But, I don't believe in that.
Okay.
I don't believe.
Not shooting them, especially. You just don't. No.